For those who don't know me, my name is Lush. I have loved Pokemon my entire life, from watching the show to playing the games, so much so that years later I would play competitive battles at a high level. I have now solo queued my way to Master Rank in Pokemon Unite and will be using the knowledge that I've gained to help you get those victories.
Hey you guys, today I've got an eject button guide for you. I'm going to be going briefly into how this can affect each move on every Pokemon, and how this item can really change this game at a mechanical level. It's far more than just an escape tool. I don't want to go into too much detail, as this would be a very long video, and I thought it was best to keep it short and sweet. I hope that from what I show you here, you're able to apply this to your games and really improve your game, and if you have any questions, just feel free to ask me in the comment section. I'm more than happy to answer you. Let's start this off with the newest addition to the game, Blastoise. So Skull Bash can actually have its range increased by the eject button, and if you time it correctly, you can even change direction. Water Gun has a tech where you can actually animation cancel to get behind your opponent and knock them back. This is really hard to pull off, but it's worth practicing because this can really change the early game for you. You can eject button during the animation of Water Spout, which is really good to help you close that gap as quick as possible. You can also eject button at any time during the move Rapid Spin. Hydro Pump has the same tech as a Water Gun, but the timing is a lot more precise and a lot more punishing. You actually eject as you're hopping off the wave in your Surf, and you can eject during the opening of Hydro Typhoon to close the gap and hit more enemies. Now let's talk about Lucario. Quick Attack can have its range increased and its direction changed. And Medium Mash can be animation cancel to get behind your opponent and knock them backwards. This is hard to time, but definitely worth learning. You can't eject during the charge up or power up punch, but you can in the dash afterward. That can be used to extend the range and to change the direction of the move. Extreme Speed can have its range increased and its direction changed. And Bone Rush can actually have some good outplays where you eject one direction and you Bone Rush back the other way. Really good for escaping. Now let's talk about Garchomp. You can animation cancel Bulldoze by using it before eject button. Same thing with Sand Attack, and you can actually use it to change the direction of your Sand Attack. Dragon Rush can have its range increase with the eject button, as can Dragon Claw. You can do the same thing with the Dragon combo to really push an enemy back, and you can really position them where you want them with this. It's great. Earthquake can be animation cancelled the same way as Bulldoze, and Dig can have its range increase and its direction changed. You can use these together in a combo to cut off your enemy's retreat path. You can also eject any time during Livid Outrage. Now let's talk about Machamp. Karate Chop can have its range increase by eject cancelling. You can eject out of bush with submission to give your opponent no reaction time. You can increase the range and change the direction of Cross Chop. And the same thing goes for Dynamic Punch. You can eject mid-close combat to change its direction. And you can eject anytime during Barrage Blow to change the direction. Now let's talk about Charizard. Flame Burst will follow you and can have its range increased, and the same goes for Fire Spin. Fire Punch can have its range increased, and it can also be used to animation cancel and get behind your opponent and knock them back. This has rough timing, but this is worth learning to reposition your enemies where you want them. Fire Pass will also follow you and be able to have its range increased, and the same goes for Flamethrower. You can eject during the animation of Flare Blitz and change the direction that you come at your opponent, which can really help you throw them off and avoid some moves. You can also eject at any point during Seismic Slam. Now let's talk about Talonflame. Acrobatics can have its range increased, and you can also change the direction. This takes precise timing, but is completely worth it. You can eject button immediately out of Aerial Ace to get right out of the fight while still doing the damage. You can eject multiple ways with the move Brave Bird, one to change the direction on your approach, and the other to increase the range of the move. Flame Charge can have both its range increase and its direction changed. You can eject at any point during the move Fly to really throw off your opponent. You can eject during Flame Sweep to avoid obstacles, and you can also eject to increase the range to that from one goal to another. Now let's talk about Zeraora. You can eject during Slash to change the angle that you come at your opponent to avoid moves. Agility can have its range increase and its direction changed. You can eject during Volt Switch to change both the range and angle to help you get further before you have to snap back. You can eject at any point during Discharge. You can also eject mid-Spark to really throw your opponent off. You can eject during Wild Charge to increase its range or change the angle that you come at your opponent. You can eject during the startup of Plasma Gale to really change the angle you come at them and throw your opponent off. This can be great for avoiding moves. Now let's talk about Gengar. You can eject during Lick to increase its range, or you can eject backwards to pull your opponent further. You can also animation cancel Lick to get behind your opponent. A well-timed eject during Will-O-Wisp will increase its range. You can eject during Sludge Bomb to either get closer to your opponent or to outplay them and eject to the side. You can eject during Hex to increase its range or change the direction. You can eject during Shadow Ball to increase its range. Same thing goes with Dream Eater, but you can also eject in Dream Eater to change the angle you come at your opponent as you teleport. That can really throw somebody off. You can eject anytime during Phantom Ambush. Now let's talk about Absol. You can eject during Slash to increase its range, and you can eject during Feint to increase its range or the angle that you come at your opponent. The same thing goes for Night Slash, and you can increase the range and direction of the second dash. You can eject during Pursuit to get behind your opponent and land that backstab easier. You can eject during Psycho Cut to increase its range. Now let's talk about Snorlax. You can eject during Tackle to increase its range or change its direction. You can also animation cancel Tackle to get behind your opponent and knock them backwards. You can eject during Heavy Slam to change its range or its direction. You can eject at any time during block. The best way to do this is to turn it behind you and eject it backwards to push your enemy back. You can increase the range of Yawn by ejecting at the right time. You can also animation cancel it to get behind your opponent. You can eject during the wind up of Power Nap to land and knock up enemies further away. Now let's talk about Slowbro. You can eject it backwards after using a water gun to create space. You can increase the range or change the direction of Surf. You can increase the range of Telekinesis, and you can also eject behind your opponent to hold them still with Telekinesis. You can eject to increase the range of Scold, and you can eject during the unstoppable frames of Amnesia to ensure your escape. Now let's talk about Crustle. You can eject to both increase the range and change the direction of Fury Cutter. You can eject during the animation of Rock Slide to close the gap, or you can eject away after using a Rock Slide to make an escape. You can eject during Stealth Rock to make it go further. You can eject during the Rock Tomb animation to close the gap between you and your opponent and keep them in that wall. You can eject mid-X Scissor to make it go further. You can eject during the unstoppable frames of Shell Smash to ensure your escape. You can also eject during the startup of Rubble Rouser to close the gap and get that stun off easier. Let's talk about Venusaur. You can eject during Razor Leaf to change your positioning. This can be used to increase range or get behind your opponent. You can eject during Sludge Bomb to actually create space. You can eject during Giga Drain to increase its range or change its direction. And you can eject anytime during the move Petal Dance. Now let's talk about Ninetails. You can increase the range of Powder Snow with the eject button and also the angle that you shoot it. And you can do the same with Icy Wind. Dazzling Gleam will stay stationary, so you can actually use eject to take advantage of the stun and create really good space for yourself. You can do the same with Blizzard, and also the same with Avalanche. You can eject during the start of a Snow Globe to close the gap and get the damage off a little easier. Now let's talk about Greninja. You can increase the range of Substitute. You can close the gap easier by cancelling the animation of Bubble. You can increase the range of Smokescreen and also change the angle of Smokescreen to take better advantage of that stealth. You can increase the range of Surf and change the direction of Surf. You can increase the range of Double Team and also change the direction of Double Team. You can eject at any point during Water Shuriken, which is great for kiting. Now let's talk about Pikachu. You can eject mid Electro Web to create more space. You can do the same with Thundershock to really poke your enemy. You can also do the same with Electro Ball. And even the same with both Thunderbolt and Thunder. You can eject at any time during Thunderstorm to either close the gap or get away. Now let's talk about Cinderace. You can eject during Ember to increase its range. You can also increase the range of Low Sweep and change the direction of Low Sweep. You can eject mid Blaze Kick to change the angle you come at your opponent, which can really throw them off and help you avoid moves. You can eject at any point during the move Feint. You can eject during Pyrobal's animation to change the range of the move. You can also increase the range and change the direction of Flame Charge. Now let's talk about Cramorant. You can eject backwards to create space between yourself and Whirlpool, and the same thing goes for Feather Dance. Surf will follow you as you eject if you time it correctly, and you can create space with Hurricane. Air Slash can be used with the eject button to create an enormous amount of space for you. You can increase the range of Dive and also change its direction. You can eject at any time during Gatling Bolt Missile to chase down your enemy, or you can use it if you're in a rough spot and you want to eject into a bush to break line of sight. Now let's talk about Gardevoir. Confusion will follow you as you cast it. You can double the range of Teleport. Psychic will follow you just like Confusion. And whenever you eject, it will change the targeter of Psyshock. Moonblast works just like Confusion, but you'd rather kite backwards with this to take advantage of the stun. You can also create space for yourself with Future Sight. You can eject at the beginning of Fairy Singularity to create enormous space for yourself. Now let's talk about Mr. Mime. You can actually eject during the animation of a light screen to be in their face to hit them with your combo with Fake Out. You can eject mid Fake Out to increase its range or change its direction. You can do the same thing with Barrier and Confusion that you can do with Light Screen and Fake Out. Confusion has an interesting hitbox when you eject, pulling enemies from behind you and pushing enemies that are far off to the side. You can eject to increase the range of Guard Swap or even correct a missed shot. You can eject at any point during Sidekick, best to use at the end to catch them off guard with that stun. You can eject any time during the move Showtime. Now let's talk about Eldegoss. Leafage will follow you as you eject to increase its range. You can eject mid-synthesis to land on your ally and heal them. The same thing goes for Cotton Guard. You can actually eject toward your Pollen Puff and catch it. This can be used very well in combat. You can eject at any point during the move Cotton Spore. And Leaf Tornado, just like Leafage, will follow you to increase its range. You can eject at any time during Cotton Cloud Crash. Now let's talk about Wigglytuff. You can eject at any point during Defense Curl to increase its range or to change its direction. You can eject during Pound to increase its range. You can eject at any point during the move Sing. If timed right, Dazzling Gleam can be left behind to create space for yourself. You can eject during the move Double Slap, and anytime during the move Rollout. You can even get a double knock up with Rollout if timed correctly. Now let's talk about Blissey. So with Blissey, I'm only able to show you Pound, Egg Bomb, and a little bit of Helping Hand. The rest of Blissey's moves require an ally, so I wasn't able to replicate that in the practice area. Let's talk about your basic attacks. You can eject cancel your basic attacks to create space for yourself. This is really used on range characters more often, but there are some cases where you apply this on melee characters. Now let's talk about how you can use eject button around the map. You can eject through a lot of the walls in the central area that you wouldn't expect to be able to. You can eject during those walls in your jungle. You can also eject through the rocks near Dreadnought, and you can eject through the plants near your lanes, even though they are quite wide. You can also hide in a bush and use the eject button to eject to another bush and really throw off your opponent. I hope that you were able to learn a lot from this and that this improves your game. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and if there's anything I missed, let me know in the comment section.